Hi everyone, Tanya Hertz here, Assistant Professor of Entrepreneurship at San Diego Miramar College and San Diego State University, and the Director of the Rec Innovation Lab at San Diego Miramar College. Today we're going to be talking about market segmentation, and I'll start by sharing with you some slides on market segmentation and talking to you a little bit about why we segment the market. So as entrepreneurs, the most effective strategy to take in marketing is a focus strategy, is a single segment strategy, focus strategy at first. So we find that it is extremely effective as a new business to focus on a narrow subset of the larger overall population rather than just trying to sell to everybody, right? So there's riches and niches, right? You have to start small to grow big. These are they're sayings for a reason. They're very, very true. We emphasize when we first start as entrepreneurs a very narrow single subset of the market for many different reasons. And it's not because we don't want to be big. We want to be big, right? But the way to grow big is to start small. And there are so many benefits to market segmentation and to taking this focus strategy. Having that niche market can shield you from competition. The bigger companies, they're more likely to ignore you. You're able to actually start your new venture using the lean methodology and starting that company with the MVP, testing the MVP with a concierge model, which is a non-automated sort of business, doing it all yourself. And you can only do that if it's small. And that's a very quick way to test, a very, very quick way to get to market. And we know as entrepreneurs, we want to get to market as quickly as possible so that we can start testing our idea and iterating our model. Focus allows us to become experts in the field and to really get known as experts in the field and in that particular niche that we are dominating. We get that reputation as being the end-all be-all in that particular market. And then if competition does come in, not only are we seen as the experts, but also we have a relationship formed with our customers at that point. And they're not going to leave us just for a little bit lower price, right? And so it's a good idea to really get in there and just dominate in that market. And beyond that, it's cheaper. It's cheaper to start small. And we as entrepreneurs don't typically have a lot of money. And so when we're segmenting the market and choosing a very specific type of customer, it's easier to advertise to them and to actually be able to reach them. And when we do start, we start with people who are actively experiencing the problem now and in our region. And so I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but customers do not buy products or services. Customers buy solutions to problems, right? You need to solve a problem for your customer. Every successful business solves a problem for the customer. If you're not solving a problem, then there's no reason for them to use you, right? You'll never be a successful business. So almost all small businesses start out in a niche market. I don't ever want to hear you say, oh, my market is everyone, right? My product or service is so great, everyone's going to buy it. I mean, that's wonderful. We want everyone to buy it eventually, but that's not how, if you don't understand who the first people who are going to buy it are, you'll never sell it to everyone. And in fact, you don't ever sell it to everyone anyways. You don't market your business. You should find that early adopter, initial niche target market, and they should sell to everyone else. They should be the mouthpiece that generates the word of mouth advertising and gets the rest of the majority, the early majority, to buy your product. So we want to start with niche markets. We want to find those early adopters, and early adopters in entrepreneurship is different than maybe early adopters that you think of in other types of contexts. When we're saying early adopters in entrepreneurship, we're saying the most likely initial target market who have already the problem that you're trying to solve. They know that they have the problem. You don't have to educate them on this. And they're out there actively seeking a solution to the problem, right? They want somebody to solve this problem for them. And they're doing something now that doesn't work very well, right? And so what you're going to do is you're going to do something better. And those are your early adopters. So you're not choosing your target market, you're finding your target market, right? You're finding who they are. And when we describe our customers, our markets, we describe them in relationship to the problem. Right. So the early adopters are the people who have that problem. They know they have a problem. They're trying to find the solution. The early majority also have that problem. They also know that they have the problem, but they might not be looking for a solution right now. Right. That might be because they're happy with the solution that they have, or maybe the problem is not so serious to them or such a significant problem that they're going to go out and actively try to find a solution. You'll never be successful if you don't move from this early adopter portion of the curve to the early majority and the late majority. So this is the product life cycle, right? This is a product life cycle, and this is time, right, on the bottom. This is time. So we, as entrepreneurs, we're trying to find this first group, right? This early adopters, and those early adopters are the ones who are going to get everyone else on board. The late majority, they do have the problem, but they don't even know that they have it often. So these people, you often have to educate that they have the problem. And then the laggards are those, they're just die hard, sticking to the way that things are. They don't necessarily have the problem. Now they fit our demographic, and they fit our market segmentation, but they don't necessarily have the problem right now, and they aren't looking for a solution to the problem right now. But they, with education and with with a little bit of effort, it's a lot of effort, you can eventually get the laggards to come on. So not only, one thing I want to say about laggards as well, not only do they not know that they have the problem, they don't, not only do they not have the problem and not seeing the solution, but often they're very opposed to the solution in such a way that they are actively against it, right? I always think of the people who just clung to their flip phones. They just would not get a smartphone. And they were vehement about, how a flip phone was better than a smartphone, right? Those are those laggards. Okay, so when we're segmenting the market, we typically segment the market in 4 ways. We segment it geographically, demographically, psychographically, and behaviorally. And behaviorally is actually purchase behaviors. Psychographic is behaviors. To confuse things, right? Because marketers love doing that. No, but psychographic is the way that we behave, the way that we, opinions that we have, lifestyles that we have. Psychographic examples could be, does a person play hockey? Do they listen to punk rock music? Do they own a smartphone? These are all psychographic variables. Behavioral variables, they're purchase behaviors. What we're talking about there is what is the relationship to the product or service in terms of how they buy it, why they buy it, when they buy it, not how they behave in other instances. Right? Demographics, age, gender, income, and geographic is where they live. So geographic, when we first start with a focused strategy, we start here where we are as entrepreneurs. And we do that because we want to be close to our initial market. Demographically, we don't include any variables unless they're important. So age, if age is not relevant, don't put age, although age is usually relevant. So what I always tell my classes is, if it's going to make a difference in the way that you advertise to somebody, so think about how you might reach a particular group. And we might have lots of different segments who could potentially buy our product. So the example that I used in some of the other lectures, and so I'll use it again, is the hand sanitizer, right? The spray hand sanitizer that we're going to make for people who can't wash their hands while they're at school, right? So an example of a demographic, so you know, when I say you want to include it if it's important, and you'll definitely want to include it if it changes the way that you advertise to somebody. So if I would advertise to a 76-year-old man the same way I would advertise to a 16-year-old girl, then you don't put any demographics in there. But you can see that usually that's not true. There are different channels that we reach them. There are different messages that they want to hear. And so that's why we segment them, right? We segment them so that we understand exactly who they are, how to reach them, et cetera, if that makes sense. Okay, so here's an example of a segmentation table with the geographic, demographic, psychographic, and behavioral. And the way that you fill these tables out is and the purpose of filling these tables out is so that you can get to the market size, right? To the serviceable market, not the total market. Because what we're trying to find out here is, you know, how many people are realistically going to buy in this particular cohort. And so we take the area that we're in. Maybe it's going to be San Diego County, or maybe it'll be even more narrow than that. Maybe it will be just one neighborhood in San Diego County, or maybe it will be San Diego and Los Angeles and Orange and anywhere that you can drive to. Whatever that is, you need to look these numbers up, right? Guesses are not good enough in entrepreneurship. We need to validate our assumptions. And then one of the easiest ways to do this, to find the number, is to take the percentage of the total population and multiply that percentage by the number above it, right? So by how many people are in San Diego. So if you couldn't find how many males are living in San Diego, you could just look up what percentage of the population is male versus female. And then you could see that about 49%. And then you could take that 49% and multiply it by the number above to give you 1.62 million. And then you can look up what percentage of the population is African American, what percentage of the population is a teenager, what percentage of the population earns over 40,000 a year. Look them up separately and then apply that number to the number above, or the percentage to the number above it, so that you can estimate your market size. You will never find well, maybe you will, but very, very rare will you find somebody who's gone out there and done exactly what you want to do in terms of finding a market. So you're not going to put into Google, you know, what percentage of San Diegans who are male African Americans, teenagers making over $40,000 a year, also are heavy TV watchers and watch 3 or more hours of TV a day, right? That's, you're not going to find that. So you need to separate them out and then apply those numbers to it. So if you're selling B2B, or if you have a dual market strategy, which many of you probably do, it's different, right? So in business, we don't care so much about, you know, age. I mean, whose age would you even, the age of the business, right? It's irrelevant. What you care about is what's relevant. So instead of the demographic information, you put the business type, right? So is it a restaurant? Is it the industry? And more specific than an industry, you can look at specifics of a particular industry. And also you'll want to look at the purchase behaviors, and then only include the business specifics about the business type if it's relevant. Okay. And so you'll want to make sure that you're choosing the right target market, and this can be difficult, right? You'll need to brainstorm potential users, potential buyers. You're trying to identify your early adopters, right? So write a script. Write a script of what you're going to ask, and create both a survey and also an interview. Right? I have templates for both of those. I'll put those for you, and you'll want to conduct at least 5 to maybe 20 maximum of the face-to-face or in the time of social distancing, the one-on-one interviews, until you start to see a pattern in the answers. And then once you start seeing the same thing over and over again, all you're doing is you're supporting your assertions, and then you can do that with surveys that you send out. So you're going to want to, but my guess is right now you're thinking of, there are many different potential market segmentation, target market segmentations that I could choose. I could choose this group or that group or this group, and they could all make sense to me. And so again, you don't want to guess, you want to use some sort of a system to decide who you should be pursuing first, and who are most likely are truly your early adopters. And so you'll do it based on these variables: the potential market size, their ability to pay you, your ability to actually get to them, to access them, and how significant or painful that problem is for them. So I use the MAP system, and I made up this system, but I found it works very well. So even though it's made up, don't think it doesn't work. It works very well. For me, it's always worked, and it's an effective way to look and see, all right, is this is this the right potential market to pursue? So when I was thinking about selling the hand sanitizer, the spray hand sanitizer, I was thinking, okay, so number one, we needed to make sure that no matter who who we were targeting, which potential market we were looking at, that they were all concerned about germs, right? That they cared about germs, and then also that they would view hand sanitizer as a viable alternative to hand washing when hand washing was impossible. So with that said, I could think of a lot of different people who could use these hand sanitizers. Little spray hand sanitizer. I don't have one with me, but it's a little tiny spray. It's like this size, a little spray bottle hand sanitizer that you carry with you, right? So I was thinking teachers, high school teachers would work, college teachers, college students would work, high school students, as long as they're not homeschooled, right? Moms who have young kids would work, delivery drivers, I was thinking, police officers, paramedics, first responders, anybody who travels a lot for work, any business professional who's going to need to be out there now that we're lessening some of the restrictions on social distancing. I was thinking anybody who's doing customer service, any of the necessary occupations, all of these made sense to me. So how do we decide which is which? Well, the way that I do it is I look at maps. I follow the map, right? Follow the map to identify the early adopters. So M is the market size. So is the market size large and growing? If that's very true, very, very true, I would give it a 5. If it's very untrue, I would give it a 1. And this is not totally highly scientific, but it does give us a place to start, right? So teachers, I said, well, it's not a huge market for high school and college teachers, probably not growing. Access, I have pretty good access to teachers since I am a teacher, so I gave them a 4 there. P is their ability to pay, right? Can they easily afford to pay me? Yeah, so I gave them a 5. And then S is the significance, right? How significant is the problem to them? So these are all my assessments for each one of these. And you go through and you answer that question 1 through 5 for each one of them. Add them all up, and whoever gives you the highest total map, that's the early adopter that you first follow, right? So you'll know that their market size is big, that there is, that you have access to them, you understand them, you know how to reach them, which is very important for your first early adopters, that they can pay you, and that the problem is significant to them. So that's the MAP system. I'll share this with you. I'll also share with you the market segmentation table that I made for the hand sanitizer, including the TAM, SAM, and SOM. Yeah, okay.